I am at Ghost Ranch. This place is on the National Registry of Historic Places. Georgia O'Keeffe stayed here and painted some of her more famous works. And it's been converted into a multi-faceted gathering place. This week they had, or last week, they had some kind of Italian car that's really famous. They started about $1 million, and so they had a gathering of the owners of those cars, and it was supposedly $50 million worth of cars here. But they have accommodations to put up 300 people. They have a campground. It's an amazing place. It's also raining, and hopefully it's not going to be a steady all-day rain, but pretty gray skies. We'll see. All right, I missed a turn and did about 200 yards of bushwhacking to get back on the trail. But it's fun, it makes you appreciate the trail. Anyhow, I thought this might be a good time to talk about prosecutors, and I guess it applies to any officer of the criminal justice system, because and how they operate with impunity, because they have immunity. In other words, they can do whatever they want because they know, I mean, short of pulling out a knife and stabbing somebody. Oh, there goes a grouse up in that tree. They can get by with it. And I just talked about how we need to get rid of that immunity. So this is a story about a cold-hearted man who shows no compassion, none. And I don't know where he's coming from. This story is set in Missouri. I was born in Texas and spent my first 7 years there. But I consider Missouri my where my formative years occurred. I mean, almost all my memories of childhood are from Sedalia, Missouri. There was a woman named Sandra Hem, or Hemme, spelled H-E-M-M-E. You can look it up and verify what I'm about to tell you. She has a record as the longest serving exoneree in history, or longest serving woman exoneree, I think, in the history of the U.S., certainly in the history of Missouri. Uh-oh, we're going uphill. She was in prison for 43 years, and she had some mental disabilities, but she was charged with murder, and She confessed, but when she confessed, she was heavily sedated, and she answered in just monosyllables. She was essentially gorked out, and everybody knew that, but that didn't stop them. So it was later found there was a police officer who's now dead who used the victim's credit card shortly after her murder. Her earrings were also found in his possession, and it was discovered that his truck was parked very near the victim's house at the time of the murder. Eventually, Sandra had a really good legal team, and they fought this in court. And the Attorney General, who is the head prosecutor for the state of Missouri, was Andrew Bailey. And Andrew Bailey fought back in court, but he lost. And so it was actually on June 14th of last year. It's almost a 1-year anniversary. A judge ruled that there was more than sufficient evidence to prove her innocence, and that she was to be released from prison. Well, Andrew Bailey thought otherwise, and he told the warden not to do it. And he cooked up some thing about she had to serve time for infractions that occurred in prison. And let me tell you, you could be Mother Teresa, but if you're in prison in the general population, at some point you're going to have to fight back. And at some point, some guard is going to have a vendetta against you, and you're going to get written up for some kind of infraction. I mean, you have very few rights in prison, or maybe in theory you do, but in practice you don't. So he wanted to hold her on the basis of some of those charges. And it got to the point where the judge said, look, if she is not released by this date, I'm holding you in contempt of court, and you're going to appear before me. So all of a sudden, Andrew Bailey had some consequences. This judge cut through the immunity thing, and Andrew Bailey did the right thing and told the warden to release her. So you can see that when there are consequences, people will, it's a good incentive for people to do the right thing. It doesn't change the fact that he's a cruel-hearted man, and I don't know where he's coming from. He knew the evidence, and it's just beyond reason that he would do that. So now Sandra Hemi, she's out. I don't think Missouri is one of the states that gives restitution to wrongfully convicted prisoners. Sandra will not even be eligible for Social Security. So she has friends and family, I think, that are supporting her. But it's a sad tale, and it just reinforces my belief that immunity for police, prosecutors, and judges should be done away with, and they should be held personally responsible. So in other words, when the few cases where police are found to be guilty of misconduct. It's the agency, the city or town or university or whatever, that pays, and it falls back on taxpayers essentially. So that's my little story for today. I think I covered it. You know, don't take my word for it. Andrew Bailey is the one player. Sandra Hemme is the other, Hemme. And I couldn't make this stuff up. Really. I had no idea that our criminal justice system was as bad as it is, and that there's such cruel-hearted players. But enough of that. It's turning out to be a beautiful day. Hopefully some of my gear will get dry, and I'm hoping for good trails. So I'm on a trek for Tarzan, and we'll be reporting back soon. Rain all day tomorrow. Trying to get as many miles as I can in today, because it'll be slow tomorrow with this sticky mud. It's a beautiful valley. Hey, join me in my shadow on a morning hike. I pulled out the camera to show you what trough trail or trench trail is. It almost always happens in grassy areas like the Grayson Highlands and the Roan Highlands in Tennessee. But this is pretty flat here, so it's not getting real deep. But let me tell you, it is a pain walking in this. You just barely have enough room to pass one foot in front of the other. Okay, here it's getting flatter. And usually the bottom is U-shaped or V-shaped. And it forces your foot to go unnaturally, not where you want it to go. And as a hiker, I hate this stuff. I also wanted to talk about elevation in relation to moisture. And at one time in my life, I had a chance to spend a year on an island in the Caribbean. And one thing I learned from that is that there are lush tropical islands like Dominica, St. Kitts, Nevis, and I'm sure a bunch of others. And then there are desert islands that, they're just dry. There's very little water. Like Antigua, that's one that comes to mind. I lived on one island in St. Kitts, and there was a neighboring island, Nevis. Together they comprise a country. But I could see Nevis really well. And it was rare to see Nevis without a halo of clouds around it. It's just an inactive volcano that sticks up around 4,000 feet. And anytime you have an island that reaches that elevation, I don't know if it makes its own weather or it's a cloud magnet, but there's always moisture up there, and it creates springs and rivers that feed the rest of the island. And so that's kind of the same here. At the higher elevations, we see a lot of moisture. There's streams flowing all over the place, and they get more frequent rain, and you can see the vegetation is incredibly lush compared to what we were seeing in the desert. So it's also colder up here. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing to point out. We've been hiking up this valley for a couple of miles, and we got at least another half mile to go. Just the vastness of the place is so impressive. I mean, the scale of ranching is so foreign to me, coming from the east, where if somebody owns 400 acres, wow, that's huge. And here they go by the thousands of acres. I don't know how they oversee it, but it's a way of life. And I can see where horses are no joke. They would really come into play. I don't know if you can see this. This is crazy. It's June 4th and it's snowing. It's been one of those years. Wow. Well, luckily it's not going to accumulate. Today is June 5th, and off in the distance, behind those clouds passing by, that is Colorado. And today, I might not be on those mountains, but I'll be in Colorado. In the foreground, you can see some patches of white. That's snow. That's why this is not a very heavily populated area. I just passed a drift that was 4 feet tall, and that was dense, consolidated snow. So there was a lot of snow here at one time. I know that's way bigger than a baby deer. So I think we have a baby elk, and Mom put her down. Yeah. Oh, you're beautiful. Yeah, you are. I'll leave you alone. Just a couple tenths of a mile from Colorado. This is my official welcome to Colorado. They've got a bunch of drinks and a nice note, and I'm gonna partake. New Mexico was wonderful, but it's time to move on. Over 777 miles in 25 days. Of course, some of that was alternates and might have shortened it somewhat, but it's hard to figure exactly. So, starting a new adventure.